Thank you to the people of Australia for the chance to continue to serve the best nation on earth.
I want to say thank you to the Australian people for the faith they've placed in me and thank them for the great honour of having been the member for Dixon and the Leader of the Opposition.
Hello, welcome to Media Watch. I'm Linton Besser. And tonight, the country and the press are coming to terms with an electoral avalanche that entombed the Liberal Party and its leader.
Welcome to Albanese country.
Sea of red.
No doubts about it.
Saturday night's historic result was broadcast live across Australia, with the commercial stations doing what they could to reel in disinterested punters flicking through the dial. Over on 7, its audience got a bit more of the democracy sausage than perhaps it was expecting.
Welcome to commercial TV.
There's one guy wearing cowboy boots.
Though Clive Palmer, who's unlikely to pick up a single seat, having squandered $60 million on advertising, preferred chocolate. 9, meanwhile, rolled out a new humiliation for MPs being turfed from office.
Politics is a circus anyway, so let me unveil Channel 9's Dunk Tank.
3, 2, 1, the ball hits.
Fire him up.
This is a big one. Peter Dutton, the Leader of the Opposition. A genuine thank you to your service, Peter Dutton.
Oh, the ball. It is.
Remarkable.
And off he goes.
Although there were at least glimpses of conscience from Nine's panel.
They're all human beings. They all have served their country.
Absolutely.
And they've done their very best.
Over on the ABC, to which Australians flocked on the night, we watched election analyst Anthony Green, surely a national treasure by now, grapple with the vagaries of technology one last time.
Anthony Green, what can you tell us?
Well, we've got some figures. A little bit of a surprise where they're from. They're from... No, not from there. No. I don't know why it brought up McEwen for me. I must have touched the map by mistake.
It was not Green who called it first. That prize seems to have gone to the venerable Daily Mail. But it was only when Anthony Green gave his verdict...
This could be a big win for Labor, but it's certainly a win.
...that ALP headquarters in Sydney erupted in jubilation. Meanwhile, blue blood continued to be spilled, the scale of the Liberal rout laid bare by 7's Mark Riley.
This is a catastrophic defeat for the Liberal Party. It's decimated the front bench. It's cut off the head of the party. The party that chose nuclear energy as its policy has exploded in a nuclear bomb.
The big losers this weekend were also counted among the media. From the West Australian, with its demure page 1 treatment of the ALP last week, to some on Sky News, who remained optimistic about the Liberals' chances with editorials like this.
I know the published polls are discouraging for some in the coalition, and in just about every seat, the coalition has better candidates and more energised local campaigns than they did in 2022. And that's why I think this election's got a long way to run.
It's commentary like this which might have had an effect all of its own, according to David Crow's post-election analysis for the Sun Herald.
The media dynamic was part of this outcome. The defeat for the coalition is so severe, so powerful, that the Conservatives and their supporters must confront a question. How did they delude themselves into thinking they had a successful agenda when they were failing all along?
This dynamic was also a reminder of the steady dilution of newspapers' once profound influence over voters, with page 1 stories like these shown up for the nonsense they were.
And there was a fake opinion poll put out during the campaign showing me on 19% support, which 2 newspapers put on the front page.
Really?
And I'm on 62.6% support. So it's just a reminder to certain newspapers, be careful about fake polls that you will put on your front page.
The Daily Mail was dished a slice of humble pie too after this homepage screamer on Saturday morning, as was Sky News with this prediction a fortnight ago.
Polls have been showing Labor ahead, and some have even pointed to majority government for Labor. But this is a fantasy. There's no question Peter Dutton is absolutely in the game.
The Liberal Party's post-mortem will continue for many days, I'm sure, and there'll be plenty of blame laid at the feet of the White House's much bronzed president, whose reign of chaos had voters grasping for stability. But when more than half the major newspapers in this country, including most of the News Corp stable, endorsed Peter Dutton and his team, who went on to be so thoroughly repudiated by their own readers, will we see similar introspection from those in the media industry who are so out of touch with the electorate? For some reason, I'm not holding my breath. Now we turn to this slick documentary on Australia's other public broadcaster, SBS.
For the first time ever, 4 Australian towns are being offered mass DNA tests. Tests that will unveil wild hidden chapters in our history. I've got your DNA results back.
Oh my goodness, what? We actually have some of his own words.
Really?
Heartwarming revelations abound in SBS's most recent series, The Secret DNA of Us, hosted by Mark Fennell.
It'll change how you see Australia. It'll change how you see yourself.
This is overwhelming.
It's wonderful.
That's right. About 100 lucky residents in Bairnsdale, a town in eastern Victoria, parted delicately with their DNA. Well, they spat into a cup, hoping to lift the fog of time from their distant past. So, what did they discover?
You are indeed connected to royalty, not just royalty of the Punjab Kingdom, but also Queen Victoria herself, through this man.
Susie, meanwhile, found a connection to a long-lost relative.
We've known each other for a long time.
And neither of you knew about any of this? Wow. Do you know what? Can I get a group hug with all my Indian sisters?
From Bairnsdale to the Bay of Bengal, all thanks to the mysteries of the double helix. I wonder where mine would take me. I could just ask the SBS in-house expert. Now, who was that again?
Brad Argent, an ancestry expert.
Ancestry expert? Sounds most official. So we looked him up, and it was a bit confusing because he says his day job is to
make engaging content in a way that supports the brand with measurable results without impacting on the narrative process.
And for which brand does he make this engaging content? None other than the multi-billion-dollar DNA giant Ancestry.
Hi, this is Brad Argent from Ancestry.
Yes, rather than an independent academic, Brad Argent is a senior executive of a global company flogging DNA test kits, which happened to also appear in this very touching SBS series that, in addition to Bairnsdale, has been filmed in Geelong, outside Melbourne, the regional New South Wales town of Bathurst, and in Sydney's Surrey Hills, where we can see Brad helpfully demonstrate how to use an Ancestry branded test kit. And why are we pointing all of this out? Because if you happen to catch the opening of the show, you might have seen this.
This program brought to you by Ancestry.
With another disclosure in the credits too. And when we were watching online and needed to pause for a quick wee break, this handy QR code popped up, swiftly transporting us straight to Ancestry's website. As it turns out, Ancestry has enjoyed quite the partnership with SBS, including the long-running favourite, Who Do You Think You Are? And Every Family Has a Secret. Surely prompting cartwheels in the Ancestry boardroom, if these branded posts are anything to go by. And while the secret DNA of us puffs up the positives of DNA testing, there's been no mention, as far as we can see, that Ancestry's owner, the $260 billion private equity firm Blackstone, acquires from willing customers the right to use their DNA to develop new business, but denies them upside and forthcoming commercial products developed with partners. The for-profit use of DNA is an issue which SBS itself has touched on just 16 months ago with its very same Ancestry expert, although this time he was introduced somewhat differently.
Brad, you work for one of the companies that collects this sort of DNA data.
So you always own your data, right? You always own it. It's your DNA, and you give us permission to do certain things with it. You opt in to giving us permission to do that.
Even though we've been told that Ancestry's Brad Argent was involved in editorial discussions during the filming of the show, the production company Eureka said the program was conceived and produced with no regard for Ancestry and its commercial desires.
Eureka and SBS retained complete editorial control and independence. Ancestry was not afforded any editorial influence or approval over the production.
In addition to hundreds of thousands of tax dollars tipped in by Screen Australia and Screen New South Wales, sources at SBS have confirmed that Ancestry did indeed help to fund the project, although the broadcaster has remained very discreet about exactly what it got. In any case, SBS assured us its deal with Ancestry did not breach its own guidelines on external financing, which
includes the requirement that SBS retain full editorial control of the program, that there must be no compromise to SBS's editorial independence and integrity, and that any funding or other support is appropriately disclosed.
While Ancestry says the deal was never about pumping up its brand.
The relationship with both the production company and TV network does not come with any commercial agreement or obligation on their part to endorse Ancestry.
Then what a stroke of good fortune this all is. Because intended or not, I don't reckon the show can be viewed as anything but an endorsement for DNA testing and Ancestry's products. The secret DNA of us might well have sincere editorial justifications, but the lack of clarity about its relationship with Ancestry, the opaque use of one of its executives, and the lack of salt with all that sugar risks undermining whatever those were. And now to this wonderful little story published in the Herald Sun a few weeks ago.
A 10-year-old Barwon Head student is enjoying the ride of his life with star greyhound Matt Locke, a Geelong Cup contender he hopes to one day call a family pet.
At last, I get to do a story about a doggy. Reporter Damien Ratcliffe brought us a heartwarming tale of this greyhound, whose name, Matt Locke, is an amalgam inspired by two of the sport's most ardent fans, Matt Field, who suffers spina bifida, and Lachlan Barsby, a 10-year-old with cerebral palsy. Ratcliffe's story reported the race came as
the Victorian greyhound racing industry rallies to support the Royal Children's Hospital's Good Friday appeal.
And it seems warm and gooey yarns about track dogs is Damien Ratcliffe's specialty, because just a few months earlier he gave us this important update.
Greyhound Racing Victoria are on track for a major rehoming milestone.
Greyhound Racing Victoria, the perfect corporate citizen, rehoming nearly 1,000 hounds, like this very happy specimen. Ratcliffe's story forgot to explain that this number has actually been declining for the past 3 years, but who cares? Because the dishlickers are on the up and up, according to Damien, with bumper crowds and, thank goodness, more gambling. Greyhound Racing Victoria's boss, Stuart Lang, told the Herald Sun's intrepid correspondent that his rather cheerful articles were helping too.
The positive mainstream media attention Greyhound Racing has been receiving is part of the reason why engagement on the sport continues to grow.
Huzzah! And although we had been briefly confused by Damien Ratcliffe's preening coverage of the dogs, we've now solved the mystery. Because Damien Ratcliffe is not a Herald Sun journalist. He's Greyhound Racing Victoria's spin doctor-in-chief. It turns out that Greyhound Racing Victoria's very own investigative insights into life at the track, like the happy story of Matt Locke or the race named after a greyhound racing matriarch, have been simply republished, word for word, from Greyhound Racing Victoria's website, with nary a blush. Well, that is, until we contacted the Herald Sun, which didn't respond to us, but generously added this to Damien's online articles.
Earlier versions of this story omitted that the author Damien Ratcliffe is Head of Public Affairs and Corporate Communications at Greyhound Racing Victoria.
Which is all just a natural progression, really, because why suborn your journalists into writing industry-friendly propaganda when you can simply get the industry to do it for you instead? Saves on the wages bill too. And that's all from us tonight. Be sure to check us out on iView as well as X, YouTube and Facebook. You can find full statements on our website. And don't forget to send us your tips. I'll see you next week.